wmvc.com.
Do you have a deadly, serious problem with your house? Maybe it's mold or storm damage. Well, we have a 13 specialist to help you out. Joining us today from First Atlantic Restoration is David Collier. David, thank you so much for joining us. This is a really serious topic, and terrific that you've joined us today. As of late, what do most customers call you about? What's the #1 problem for homeowners?
Well, we clean up any kind of damage to somebody's home, usually catastrophic, but the calls that are coming in more and more at an increasing level is about mold contamination in a home. People are much more aware of indoor air quality, and there's a lot of media coverage on mold.
Yeah, that doesn't look too good. When I was a kid, I didn't hear anything about this. What's up with this now? It's all over the news. Why is there a difference now, 20 years later, in this?
It's really about public awareness. You know, mold's here, mold's everywhere. We're breathing it right now. It's not whether or not there's mold, it's whether or not the levels in your home or building have reached a level that's unhealthy. So the media has allowed us to be really aware of what kind of damage can occur in your home and your health.
I think one of the worst case scenarios is, and this can happen in a lot of homes, you've got a bathroom that flooded, let's say. Just toilet overflowed, whatever it is, and you notice some kind of wetness on the floor, wetness on the wall, and it goes away. Is that something you need to worry about?
If it's a single incident where you have water that comes in and is dried out, it's not going to be a problem typically.
Okay.
Now, where we run into problems are when there's a constant and repeated leak, maybe a leak behind the wall, maybe water coming in windows stuck behind wallpaper, and if it's trapped, if moisture is trapped in your wall or in your attic or in your crawl space, it can end up creating a problem because there's so much organic material in a home for mold to grow on.
Now, some of the pictures that we've just seen, is this stuff that was very, very apparent very quickly? I mean, that looks pretty apparent, but I guess the scary stuff is the stuff you cannot see.
Well, what we're breathing is what we can't see. Often the problems are hidden behind the wall, and you'll notice some respiratory problems, and the symptoms of mold are really typical of a common cold, so many people don't know it, but they do become aware that every time I go home or every time I go to my office, you know, I have these cold symptoms, and when I leave, they're gone. So that's often an indication of maybe some air quality issues in a home or building. But some of the photos we've seen here are ones that are, you open the door and everything is black, so obviously get out.
What exactly does your company do once a homeowner knows that they have an issue?
Well, there's a lot of people that are wondering whether or not they have issues, but the first thing to do is to run an air test. Okay. And if you run air tests, you take a test outside and take a test inside on a clear day with a certain list of parameters. And if there's an indicator of elevated mold in the home, and certain kinds of mold grow after water damage, and if there's elevated incidence there, then industrial hygienists will come in and write a protocol, and depending on how severe it is.
Then you'll do the work. Now, just real quickly, does insurance cover this often? Because I know people are kind of really concerned about the cost of this kind of thing.
Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. They're typically, an insurance policy is going to cover result of damage resulting from a sudden and accidental loss, so long-term damage is often not going to be covered, but there are times when the mold is associated with a loss that is going to be covered.
All right, David, thank you so much. Really a life-saving service that First Atlantic Restoration gives us, and there is the address right there if you're interested or want to get a test in your home. There's the website, and there's the address. David Collier, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.